Hello! Hello everyone! Today we will continue to look at the Red Hat Certified Engineer exam questions. Next, let's look at the fourth question. The fourth question is about using system roles, which we have introduced before, also during the installation. At that time, during the installation, we mainly edited two files, right? The first file is about our configuration file, and the second one is the host group. That's what was said at the time. Besides these two. So what is the third file? Or more accurately, it should be the third directory. In our context, the third directory is about the roles directory. So what is the role of this directory? Previously, we actually wrote two different playbooks, right? When writing the playbooks, the first two were mainly done through what? Through various modules, right, and various commands. Let's have this. In the second task, we mainly used the module for installing repositories. The third task was about the module for installing packages. Now, the requirement for the fourth task is to use roles. Using roles. So, what are roles? Roles are actually a part of our system. A rather special part within Aspen. This can no longer be called a module. This role can no longer be called a module. It is equivalent to integrating. A lot of configurations, commands, integrated together. It is equivalent to a predefined configuration, meaning it includes some predefined settings within its content. When we use it, we simply follow this configuration by default, and we can directly generate some commands. To summarize, of course, these commands won't be displayed, but rather what it actually is. After we use this role, it will execute some corresponding tasks according to the predefined commands within this role, which is equivalent to automatic configuration. You can understand it this way. Relatively speaking, this role is very convenient in application. It can help us quickly deploy some services and start some software operations. Next, let's mainly take a look at this. A basic method for using the role. So first, where is our role path? It's in our Ansible directory under a folder called roles. Of course, before we actually go to the command line, let's briefly introduce the requirements of this task. The requirement is for us to use roles. To emphasize again, this task definitely requires the use of roles. Is it possible to achieve this without using roles? It definitely is possible. Right? It can definitely be done, as I've mentioned before. Right? It can. There are many methods to meet the requirements of our experiment. As long as you can meet the requirements of the task, there's no problem. However, if you directly install and configure, it's fine. But if you don't use roles, then you haven't met the requirements of the task. So, for this task, you must use roles. You can't just directly install and configure. Of course, I know it's possible to do it that way, and there's no problem with it, but you must use roles. The services above, right? Our second and third questions can still be done. So, you must follow the requirements of the task, and not act on your own. For example, if you think you've met the task requirements, why didn't you get the points? You need to reflect on whether you truly met the requirements of the task. Every word, every line, every sentence must be seen. In the first line of this task, it specifically asks us to use roles. If you don't use it, wouldn't that be wrong? So here, it first asks us to install the HEL Systems role installation package, which is not included by default. In the first question we just did, what did we install? We installed this software, but we didn't install the role-related package. So here, what do we need? We need to install it. After installing it, what can we do? We can start using it. So the first step is to install it. If it's not installed, then just install it first, and after it's installed. Next, it requires you to create a file in the directory. We'll just stay in the directory and not go anywhere else. There's no need to leave. This way, it's more convenient when we edit. You can directly edit the file name, and when executing, you just execute the file name. If both absolute and relative paths work, then the relative path is definitely more convenient. Next, let's look at the requirements. The requirement is to run on all managed nodes. Note that it's all. What does that mean? It means we don't have to differentiate between 3 different situations like in the previous question, which was the third question. To be precise, in the previous question, we differentiated between 2 situations. The first situation involved 3 groups, right? The second situation involved 1 group. Next, let's take a look at the specific requirements. Besides the managed nodes, it requires us to use. S refers to the role of the word. The thing we least want to see has appeared again. Because how should I put it? It's a meaningless configuration. L is for the beginner's exam. There's a question on this. And for the intermediate level, there's also a question on this. How should I say the service? Is it useful? It is indeed useful. Is it useless? It truly is worthless. It's useful in that, right? It can protect your program, protect your system. If it's useless, then the protection is a bit over the top. Nothing can be used. Nothing can be opened. This is the issue of its pros and cons. So this basically leads to the fact that in all production environments, this service is impossible to enable, let alone configure anything. Basically. Normally, if we were to configure this in a production environment, how should it be configured? Well, it's not in enforced mode, but rather is directly disabled. We should configure the managed nodes as disabled. That's what we should normally do. But during exams, it must be enabled for security, right? It's said to be for security, but it actually doesn't have much meaning. However, this concept is useful. This question is useful, right? When you're doing it, right? When you're doing it in a production environment, you just change this enforced mode to disabled mode, and that's it. Alright? Of course, if your system doesn't have it installed, but that's unlikely. Because generally, most systems have Linux by default. If it's not there, it's usually because it was deliberately removed. If it's not there, then don't worry about it. If it is there, then just follow the method from this question and set it to disabled mode. This way, it won't affect the operation of your other services. It's not that this question is bad or that there's a problem with it. It's just that the service in this question isn't very good. If it used a different service, there wouldn't really be any issues, but it insists on using this one. Next, let's first take a look at our configuration method. Of course, let's first review the directory we've seen before. At that time, this was our directory, right? Let's take a look at iOS. You can see we have here screws. This directory is the directory for our roles, where roles are stored. So now, if we need to install and configure this role, what should we do? The first step. The name of this role is a bit long. And for installation, we need to install it on our local server. It has nothing to do with the client. This role is installed on the server, not related to the client. Please note that. So here, first let's search for it. Why search? Because it's very long. There's no need for everyone to remember it. You can just copy and paste it directly. Where is it? It's here. Of course, it's actually not that long, right? Just 3 words. If you want to remember it, you can. But if not, just search, copy, and paste. Note that this command must be used whenever it involves software installation, just to make a point. Because we are regular users without permissions, using sudo is just to make a point. Alright, here we are going to install the character. Okay, after installing the character, what's the next step we need to take? First of all, everyone needs to pay attention to this character. After installation, what can we do? We can check, for example, don't we have a character directory? Right? This directory. It doesn't have any content yet. This directory doesn't have content on it yet. So here we are. Where do we go to check? We use Ansible -list to check. We can see that currently our directory is 2. The directory is 2. Let's go back and see. We downloaded the rules, right? We downloaded the rules, and you can see it contains so many rules. Which one do we need to use for this task? It's this one. This is the service we need to use for this task. Then above, there's a directory, and these two directories are very important. So where are we now? We are here. It's empty, right? And this directory, it has a lot of content inside. This is the default answer directory. We are currently in our own answer directory because we are regular users, right? You can't just take over the administrator's job. So here we originally intended to do this. The directory, we've copied it to our local system. We've copied this directory locally, but since we just installed it, there's no content, right? That's normal. So what do we do next? First, here, this part. It requires writing a lot of content, and it's not really recommended to memorize everything by heart. There's a relatively simple method I can share with you. First, we have a configuration file here. We can't really call it a configuration file. There's a sample file, to be precise, in our rules directory. In this sample file, it contains, inside it, it includes the answer to our question. This is quite rare, where we can obtain the answer through some files in the system. Quite rare. Otherwise, you can only see the help documentation, which may not necessarily match what you're asking. But for this question, by using a document from here, we basically don't need to write anything else. Basically you don't need to do much. It's a lazy method. Right? A clever trick. But it saves time, doesn't it? Saving time also conserves everyone's energy. No, you don't need to spend too much effort memorizing this question. Moreover, during the exam, relatively speaking, it will take less time. Of course, if you're interested and want to memorize or take a look to understand it, that's perfectly fine, right? Alright, so this is our one. Basic situation. Now let's officially start the operation. So how do we operate here? First, we need to copy the file. We need to copy the file over first. The path is actually already here, right? Just this path. User share ancient rules. And then, go inside. What to open? Then open R1. In the SE Linux directory, the example SE Linux playbook IML is very long. But you can use the type key to autocomplete, so it's fine. Here, we'll show you the operation method here, which is to directly follow the content in the question bank and copy everything exactly. You can memorize it by rote, but it's recommended to use this method to save a bit of time. So here first we will copy our template file, which is equivalent to this example template file. Copy it from the user share doc directory where there is a 2hel system rules directory. Inside there is an SA Linux, then example syn Linux playbook. After copying it, where do we copy it to? Just copy it to our current location. No need to write so much in the current directory. In the current directory, pay attention to renaming this SE Linux. You must remember to rename it. If you just copy it over, it won't work. After copying it directly, you need to use MV to change the name. VM editing SE Linux YML. The name required by the topic, because its default name is very long and can't be used, we also need to change it. Okay, now that we have the template file, what we need to do next is to make some modifications based on this template file. To be precise, it's mainly about deleting. 3 modifications are not marked, not accurate. First of all, it's about deleting. Just delete some of the content inside, which is the template file. Generally, the information it provides is quite comprehensive, which is normal. So here, what we need to do is delete this content. What to delete? Delete. Some of the things we don't need, we only keep what? We only keep the requirements of this question, because the template provides quite a lot. We just need to delete a part of it. Okay, next let's take a look at the specific method. First, let's edit it well. It says so. After entering, we can see how many lines it has. There are a total of 74 lines. If you were to write it yourself, of course I wouldn't need to write 74 lines. Here, the file for this question is approximately 28 or 29 lines. Around 29 if it's less than 30 lines. Then there's no need to write it yourself. So here, after you copy this file over, you can just delete some content. The most important effect we want is to delete until only the content from the question bank remains. And then first. Actually, if you follow the question and delete once or twice, you'll remember which content to keep. Next, let's turn to the beginning, and we'll delete bit by bit. This is a sample file, so it has a lot of comments. Comments can be left out, but it doesn't matter, because comments won't take effect. So the first thing, all of our nodes. There's no change here. Then the second thing is our switch user, switch to root. Why switch users? Because regular users don't have the permissions. So here, we need to use a root user, as it has higher permissions. Then the next thing is the words, which is a variable here. And here, the two variables are respectively R1. First, it's R1. SE Linux policy. Special type, it's set to target. The state below is the enforced mode. Required in our task, the enforced mode. Which means it must be enabled. This will lead to what? It will cause all the software you install to not function properly. This is normal. Unless you, through what? Through us? By using the method from the initial stage to allow these port numbers and such. Only then can it be used. If you have installed many services, this configuration can be very troublesome. So, why do we often say this is not useful, right? In the market environment, it is turned off for this reason, because it's too troublesome and inefficient. Impact. It affects our normal use and maintenance at this level, so generally we would turn it off. But this is an exam, and you have no choice but to turn it on. Here we need to keep some content, but not too much. We can delete it here. You can just delete according to the question bank, leaving only a small part. First, we only need to first specify our host. Then all these comments can be deleted if you don't want to see them. After setting up the two modes, what's next? We will officially start the task, and the task will continue until... for now, we can't see the task, right? So let's delete it first. Until 3 tasks appear, that's enough. These are related port numbers, modes, modules, etc. We don't need them. Not so many, and not so complex. We just need to directly enter the task. After entering the task, what's the next specific task? First of all, here, we need to use our character, because we need to use something here. In the end, we actually use our character. So, first of all, here, let's take a look at the task section over here. As for the task here, primarily, what is it used for? It's mainly used to set up something, which is to set up our creation. An operation for directories. Then the directory operation. This is a directory creation operation. So what does this have to do with us? Actually, overall, it doesn't have much relation. So how do we handle it? Just delete it. Leave the task, just note that the task should remain. Delete this name. As for this inside, do we need to add users? The question doesn't require it, right? So delete it as well. Alright, onto this name. This can't be deleted. This is required by our task, so just pay attention. When deleting, you should keep the content required by the task, and everything else can be deleted. Here it's mainly used for setting what? Setting one of our... I didn't delete this. Which part does it flow to? If it flows to the comments, we delete them because they affect our view. Alright, up to here. This is what we need. Here. First we Determine that if an analysis error occurs, we immediately terminate our service. To be precise, it's not about terminating the service for profit, but rather that the function of our service is such that if some analysis errors occur, right, it will immediately terminate, instantly terminate. Secondly, it's our. Here, there's also a related operation for rebooting. The reboot here is an asynchronous reboot. And then the next step is to wait for our node to recover. Finally, when it comes to secondary applications, ensuring consistency is one of our main functions. Here, which part are we referring to? We are referring to this part here. This section, delete it. Just simply, basically keep the first block part of the name, just... this judgment here also needs to be kept, but the judgment needs to be kept. And up to which part should it be kept? It should be kept until the end of 1. Once 1 ends, our judgment is complete, and the next part is about our reboot content, which is our reboot. The specific time, including what our specific strategy looks like, is not provided in this template. We need to configure this ourselves. We need to configure this part ourselves. The rest is mostly in the template, and we only need to modify this small part. Just modify this small part. Okay, let's work on this part. Starting from name, we begin to add. First, what we need to restart here is about reboot. A specific reboot strategy. So now what is it actually? It is actually just a simple reboot here. Just a simple reboot. But this simple reboot command actually is not particularly what? Not particularly convenient. Or if you directly reboot, it's actually a bit too what? Will lead to many services, right? Encountering some issues. So, what is best here? Directly through what? Directly through our shell module to configure. Through the shell module, what kind of operations can we perform? It's like this. We can have it reboot in a planned or scheduled manner. Because if we normally reboot, actually, using reboot means it reboots immediately. And which command can achieve a scheduled reboot? We can do it through the sleep command, or in other words, shutdown, is a predetermined timing option. Both of these can actually work. Here, it's quite simple. One way to write it is to directly do it here. Through what? Well, our sleep command means we take a break for 2. Take a break. With sleep, it's like we're taking a break during which we don't execute any commands. During the break, we don't execute any commands. And after the break ends, well, what do we start? We start executing our command. Execute what? Execute our shutdown command. Or you can use the built-in scheduled shutdown of shutdown. That's also possible. Of course, here we just take a short break. A 2-second break. With shutdown, there's a small issue that its shortest break time is 1 minute. So waiting that long isn't quite suitable. So here, by using sleep, we can have relatively shorter intervals. With shutdown here, the interval is relatively long. So it's recommended to use sleep here. It's not that you can't use shutdown, but the interval is just too long. Then next, we'll add another prompt here. Add another prompt. What prompt? A prompt for our guide. Ansible updates. After adding that, next we can add more. Here, everyone should pay attention to indentation. If there are many indentations, it's like this. Also, with the quotation marks, we bring the quotation marks down, and after the quotation marks, we retract. With many indentations, it will assume you want to write content of the next level, but actually we are not doing that now. We are actually still at the same level, so what do we need here? Be sure to remember, because this is automatic in version 9. You see, it says again, actually we should do it like this, right? This is indeed useful, isn't it? Compared to our normal way. It's more convenient to type spaces ourselves, right? If you really want to type spaces yourself, it would be troublesome, wouldn't it? How many spaces do you need to type from here at least? Ah, a lot, right? In short, many spaces. Ah, typing from here is actually too troublesome. So this kind of thing is not really recommended for everyone. Not really recommended too. Take the time to look. Just directly use it. Here it will default to recycling, and that's fine. However, in some situations, its rollback might be too clever for its own good. It assumes you want to hit enter, but actually, we don't here. So in this case, we can just remove this enter. Ah, here you must remember to remove it, otherwise it won't work well. Of course, you can also use the spacebar here, but it's relatively slow. The spacebar and this are essentially the same kind of thing. They have the same properties. Ah, the ultimate goal is to keep your indentation as consistent as possible. Consistent indentation is mainly used to differentiate between different levels of content, to distinguish different levels of content. So here, it's about indentation. Everyone should pay more attention to this themselves. Ah, at the beginning, you might say you're not very skilled, but as you practice more, actually, it will become easier. This actually isn't particularly, there's nothing particularly complex. Ah, this is just our basic situation, right? So here, it's like this. The content below this part can still remain unchanged. It can still remain unchanged. Here, the 2 times below are 2 times, right? These 2 times are just the first delay. It extends the initial wait time, the timeout, right? Generally, the meaning of timeout is to increase the total timeout duration, extend the initial wait time, and also increase the total time. This is our basic adjustment for the SO64. Okay, there's more below. It's not over yet. There's still one more below. Here. Whether you delete the space or not, it's actually fine. If you leave a space here, it actually, overall, it doesn't have much impact, so you can either leave it or not. If you leave a space, what it actually does is make it look a bit neater. After each name ends, you can hit a space. This can ensure, let's say, a basic level of neatness. In the final part, actually, we just specify our current role, because the role is like this. Because within the role, it actually includes a lot of configurations. Here, actually all the configurations mentioned above, actually including our role, are all. We can uniformly use them together through this role, use them together, and at the same time, it is equivalent to calling these configurations. So here, actually, using the role, relatively speaking, can make our overall configuration simpler without needing so many steps. This is a basic method of using a role. So at this point, the basic content of this topic is almost covered. Here, actually, the verification here is actually just if later on you encounter something like, for example, roles installed using RPM packages, you can still use them, actually. You can still execute them. If you encounter roles installed as a collection, at this point, you will need to use our new command, which is dash navigator to execute it. Here, everyone should pay attention overall after we finish here. There shouldn't be any major issues because we made modifications based on what? Based on the template file, right? We deleted a lot of content and then added one. Added a line of content, actually just added a line of content. So here, based on these, we can directly do what? We can directly save and verify. At this point, we can directly do what? We can directly save. Execute it. Sincerely, we first use Anvil. Playbook. If it's an RPM package installation role, you can use this command to execute it. If you are installing roles as a collection, then we need to use Ansible with Navigator, so please pay attention to this. Here we can directly use this command to execute it, as this command is relatively simpler. This is equivalent to the old version command. For questions related to Ansible, before the RedHat version 8, you could use it directly. The Navigator command was introduced with version 9. So here, let's first execute it and see how the result turns out. There shouldn't be any major issues. If there are any problems, we mainly need to check the command we entered. Other than that, we basically rely on our own. Template files, so it doesn't really matter much. Okay, here we have green, blue, yellow signs, and many others, right? We have them all. Green actually means normal. Green is normal. Yellow indicates changes, and blue actually means that if you haven't configured it this way, it will skip it. Blue doesn't matter, but as long as there's no red, there basically won't be any errors, no error situations. So after this runs, what's next? How do we verify it? Because for this task, we are mainly focusing on a configuration for Syn Linux. We have set all nodes to a forced state, and also pay attention to the configuration file. That is also a forced state. Hey everyone, pay attention to this issue. We have set it here to be forced to a forced state, and the configuration file must also be in a forced state. The important point here is mainly the configuration file, because once your system restarts, it will read the contents according to your system file. It will read and write the contents according to the system file. If your system file is not in this forced mode, it will later switch to another mode, e.g. if it is, it will read as forced mode. So the configuration file is actually more important. Here we can actually use what? We can continue to use this command to check our results. Since we are executing Ansible on all nodes, just 2 will suffice. This module is the one we use most frequently, which is the shell module. It can execute any command, What does this equate to here? It equates to, well, when we use the shell module, we execute these commands on other remote hosts. What do we filter? Actually, we just need to filter a bit. In our configuration file, we just need to filter the lines. That start with Sinux. How do we filter them? Alright, first the beginning. SE Linux here is all in uppercase. Note that it's uppercase here because it's uppercase in the configuration file. Alright, up to here. Our configuration file is under SETC's SE Linux config directory. Then afterwards, we execute this n get and false command. What is this command used for? It's used to check the current state in the system. Checking the current operational state. The left side is for checking the configuration file. The right side is for checking the current system. Alright, let's press enter to execute it. Just look at the result. There are 5 in total. Okay. 23, 4, 5 are all there. Check. Well, the enforcement. The mandatory mode is mandatory, no problem. Of course, because we are executing them together, they must be completely consistent. Either they are wrong, or they are all right. There will not be a situation where 1 is wrong and 2 are wrong. This is our 1, the basic one. Content. This is our basic approach for the second and fourth questions. Here, everyone should pay attention, because for this question, right, what did we use? We actually just used a template file, so the configuration here is relatively not that complex. However, when you need to remember, mainly remember what we leave behind. What content do we leave behind? It's actually just leaving behind our main task. The main task is enough, just like our main task. And what else? And enabling the role of our S16.4. These few configurations are enough. After leaving these configurations, we just need to write 1 line of content ourselves. Just change 1 line of content, and that's it. Overall, the content of our fourth question is relatively simple because we use template files. If there were no template files, everyone would need to memorize it themselves, so it's not really recommended for everyone to memorize it. Using template files saves time, and that's our situation for the fourth question. So for this question, I ask everyone to memorize it actually for your own good, because memorizing it doesn't have any practical significance since you won't actually use this knowledge. Even if we were to shut down this S10 actually. Using the Ansible command, you can also directly shut down everything in batches. This actually doesn't require a script. You can just use the command to shut everything down together. So here, you just need to understand this, so you don't need to memorize these things. Just complete this question normally, using the deletion method. So this is our fourth question. If you need the complete question bank, you can leave a comment below and purchase the most stable question bank at the best price. That's it for today, everyone. Goodbye.